you're looking for that crochet tank top that fits your exact size, then you've come to the right place. Littlejohn yarns. I'm Alicia. If this is your very first time here, I create patterns every single week, so make sure you click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you're always up to date. So today we're going to be making this crochet tank top specifically for my top heavy ladies. If you're at least a big C, D, double D or more, I'm going to take you step by step on how to customize this top exactly for your perfect fit. This top is made in two sections. The top part for the bust, which we'll be working on first, followed by the straps for the back, and the bottom part for the torso coverage. The torso coverage is completely customizable. You can make it exactly the way you want. For this top you see here, I made it in Burnette's cotton yarn. I decided for partial coverage, which covers about from hip bone, back hip bone to back hip bone. But for the top that you see I'm in right here, which is in Caron Simply Soft, my favorite yarn, I have more of a full coverage. I'm going to try to give you a view of what it looks like. So it can cover all my good it bits. If you want to follow my pattern stitch for stitch, if you're my exact size, my measurements are 38 around the bust and 32 around the waist. Also, let's see, stitches that we'll be using in this video. We're using half double crochet and half double crochet decrease. I will not be teaching any stitches in this video, so make sure you know all your stitches before you even start this pattern. And I want to give a quick shout out to my crochet partner in crime, Chasing Sun Rays. I want you to go over and check out her crochet channel on YouTube. It's great. If you think my crochet halter tops and tank tops are great, you're going to love hers 100 times more. She has such beautiful designs. She's a wonderful crochet designer. So like I said, I'll leave her information in the description box below. But now we'll hop over to the materials that we'll be using in this video. We will be using 2 skeins of Caron Simply Soft, a 4mm crochet hook, and also a 3 3/4mm crochet hook. And if you find this video is moving too fast, just look down to the bottom right hand corner of your screen. You'll see a little gear button. Just click that and you can slow down the video to your liking. Alright, we'll hop right into the tutorial. Okay, I already started a little bit already. We're going to begin by making a chain that's as long, the length from one side of your rib cage to the opposite side of your rib cage. Mine was a total of 65. Yours can be a little bit bigger or smaller. The size really doesn't matter. The pattern will still be easy to follow. So, like I said, I chained my original 65, and then I single crocheted into the second chain from the hook, and single crocheted all the way across into the other side. So, and we'll pick up our pattern from there. So next, we are going to chain 1. Turn your work. Your chain 1 does not count as a stitch. We are going to half double crochet into the very same space. And we're going to half double crochet in each stitch across. Continue placing half double crochets in each stitch across for a total of 3 rows. So you can pause your video here, and I'll meet you at the completion of your 3 rows of half double crochets. Okay, we completed our row of half double crochets. Next, we're going to chain 1. Turn your work. Right now, I want you to get stitch markers, and I'm going to show you how to line up your stitch markers for this next row. Place the garment underneath your bust. The stitch markers will be in line with your nipples. Okay, now that we got both of our stitch markers aligned, let me zoom in and work so you can see. We're going to already chained 1 and turned our work. We're going to half double crochet into the same space. And we're going to half double crochet in each stitch across until you make it to the stitch right before your stitch marker. So we're going to half double crochet all the way across, and we're going to stop right here. pause your video and I'll meet you right before the stitch marker. Okay, we made it to the stitch right before the stitch marker, so you can take that one out. We're going to put 2 half double crochets into the stitch before the stitch marker. So 1 back into the same space, and 2. Place 1 half double crochet into the next space. And we're going to place 2 half double crochets into the next. 1 back into the same space, 2. Now, once again, we're going to continue placing 1 half double crochet into each stitch all the way across until you make it to the stitch right before the stitch marker. So once again, pause your video and I'll meet you at the stitch marker. Okay, we made it to the stitch right before the stitch marker, so we're going to place 2 half double crochets into that space. 1 back into the same space, and 2. Remove your stitch marker. We're going to place 1 half double crochet in this one. And we're going to place 2 half double crochet into the next. 1, 2. By doing these increases, it's going to create a cup area for your chest. Alright, so we're going to continue placing 1 half double crochet in each stitch all the way across until the end of the row. So you can pause your video here and I'll meet you at the end of this row. Okay, we finished this row. We're going to chain 1 and turn your work. What we're going to do for this row, we're going to repeat for a total of 3 rows. So I'm going to show you where to put a stitch marker just for visual purposes. I want you to find your increase from the previous row. That's where you put 2 half double crochets into the same stitch. Here's 1. And I'm going to place a stitch marker through that mark. And my second increase is right here. I placed the stitch marker. And I've already placed the 2 stitch markers for the other increases. What we're going to do here, we're going to place another increase on top of your previous row's increase. If that makes sense, we're just going to put 2 half double crochets into the very same space. I'll show you exactly what we're doing. Oh, lost my work. Okay, let me go back. My chain 1 and turn my work. Okay, half double crochet into the very same space. We're going to continue placing half double crochets in each stitch all the way until you make it to your stitch marker. So pause your video here and I'll meet you at this stitch marker. Okay, we made it to the very first stitch marker. You can remove that. And what we're going to do there, we're going to place 2 half double crochets into the very same space. 1 back into the same space. 2. As simple as that. We're going to place 1 increase on each one of your stitch markers. I'll show you one more time. So the next stitch is just 1 half double crochet. Next stitch, a singular half double crochet. We made it to the stitch marker. We're going to put 2 half double crochets. 1 back into the same stitch, and 2. Okay, we're going to repeat this sequence for 3 rows, including this one. So you're going to half double crochet all the way into your stitch markers and place 2 half double crochets into each one of your stitch markers for 3 more rows, including this row. So once you're done, I'll meet you there. To adjust for bigger sizes, place the garment underneath your bust line, and after your increase rows, your top should be about a ½ inch below your nipple line. So after my 3 rows, my top is about a ½ inch below my nipple line. If you need a bigger size, just continue to increase your rows. Okay, we completed our 3 additional increase rows. Next is simple, chain 1, turn your work. Half double crochet into the very same space, and we're going to half double crochet in each space all the way across to the other side for a total of 2 more rows. At this point, when I hit 2 more rows, the top is just slightly below my nipples. If you're a bigger chest size, add additional half double crochet rows. So for me, I'm going to do 2. So pause your video here and complete your half double crochet rows. At the end of your half double crochet rows, your top should be at your bust line, at your nipple line, or slightly below it. So increase your rows according to your size. We've completed those additional rows. Now we're going to chain 1. Turn your work. Once again, we're going to find your centermost stitches. I'll insert a picture on exactly how to do that. Place the stitch marker center where exactly your nipples would be. Okay, now that we got our stitch markers all aligned, we are going to half double crochet into the very same space. And we're going to half double crochet in each stitch all the way across until you make it at the stitch marker. So pause your video here and I'll meet you back at the stitch marker. We've made it back to the stitch marker, so you can remove that. And what we're going to do here, we're going to complete a half double crochet decrease. So also known as half double crochet together. Go into the next stitch. Pull through. Alright, continue placing half double crochets all the way across until you make it into your next stitch marker. I'll meet you there. Alright, we made it to the last stitch marker of this row. You can remove your marker. And we're going to do another half double crochet decrease into the next 2 stitches. Go to the next stitch. And there's your decrease. Continue placing 1 half double crochet in each stitch all the way to the end of the row. So pause your video here and I'll meet you at the end of this row. Okay, we made it to the end of the row. Now we're going to chain 1. Turn your work. Right now we're going to place in some stitch markers for some visual purposes. I want you to look for your decrease from your previous row. You can tell because it's kind of lumped together like a little knot right here. We're going to put a stitch marker right to the left of your decrease. Now find your second decrease on the other side, right here. We're going to put a stitch marker right to the left of it. And this is where we're going to do the decreases for this row. So let me get my yarn situated. We already chained 1 and turned our work. We are going to half double crochet into the very same space. And I want you to half double crochet in each stitch across until you make it to your stitch marker. So pause your video here and I'll meet you when you make it to the stitch marker. Okay, we made it to the stitch marker. And now we're going to place a half double crochet decrease, or aka half double crochet together, in the next 2 spaces. That's your first one space. Now go into your second space to complete your half double crochet decrease. Okay, continue placing 1 half double crochet in each stitch all the way across until you make it to your very last stitch marker of this row. We've made it to that very last stitch marker. Remove it and we're going to place a half double crochet together in that stitch. Okay, now once again continue placing 1 half double crochet in the remainder stitches all the way to the end of this row. So you can pause your video here and I'll meet you at the very end of this row. Okay, we made it to the end of this row. So we're going to chain 1 and we're going to repeat this same sequence for an additional, not exactly sure, but I'll leave the number down below. But remember also for each row you're going to have to find your previous row's decrease and place a stitch marker in it so you know exactly where you're going to do your decrease at. I placed my stitch marker exactly to the left of the previous row's decrease. So this is where I'm going to decrease for this row. So you can pause your video here and continue repeating this row for the additional rows. Okay, we completed that row and now we are going to chain 1. Turn your work. For this row we're going to create a scallop border. So to do that, yarn over, we're going to skip one stitch, the very first one right here, and we're going to place 5 double crochets into the next stitch. So we'll do that together. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to skip the next stitch and slip stitch into the very next one. And now we're going to repeat. We're going to skip the next stitch and place 5 double crochets into the very same stitch. This one I'm going to move a little bit faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, we're going to skip the next stitch and slip stitch into the very next. We're going to repeat that very same sequence all the way across until you make it to the other side. So pause your video here and I'll meet you there. Okay, we made it to the end of the row, and that's what your scallop should look like. Next, I want you to turn your work on its side. We're going to be working on straps that'll go around the part of your back. Alright, to do that, we are going to chain 1. We're going to place a half double crochet in, oops, sorry, you can't see. We're going to place a half double crochet into the very same space. Oops, I'm sorry, wait. We're going to place a half double crochet into the very first row of half double crochets. So I don't know if you can tell, but this is your very first row of half double crochets. And we're going to place a half double crochet in each half double crochet row. All the way across until you make it to the very end. Your last stitch will be placed in the very first single crochet row. So pause your video here and I'll meet you when you make it to the end. Okay, we completed that row of half double crochet across the side. We are going to chain 1. Turn your work. Remember, your chain 1 does not count as a stitch. And we're going to half double crochet back into the very same space. And we're going to continue placing half double crochets all the way across until the end of this row. So pause the video here and I'll meet you at the end of this row. Okay, we've made it to the end of this row. The next 2 rows are going to be a pattern repeat. So we're going to chain 1, turn your work. We are going to skip the first stitch and half double crochet into the next. We're going to continue placing 1 half double crochet all the way to the end of this row. So pause your video here and I'll meet you at the completion of this row. Okay, we made it to the end of that row, and here's the second part of your pattern repeat. Chain 1, turn your work. We are going to half double crochet into the very same space. And we are going to half double crochet in each stitch all the way into the second to the last stitch. So pause your video here, place 1 half double crochet in each stitch, but stop when you get to the second to the last stitch. Okay, we have our 2 stitches left. We are going to skip the next stitch and half double crochet into the very last stitch. Okay, now for the next 2 rows, we're just going to repeat the previous last 2 rows by chaining 1, skipping the first stitch, half double crocheting all the way across, chain 1, half double crocheting into the same space, and half double crocheting all the way back up, skipping the second to the last stitch, and half double crocheting into the last stitch. So pause your video here. I'll meet you at that completion. Okay, we completed our additional 2 rows. As you can see, those reducing rows created a slant on one side and kept it flat on the other. So next is the easy part. Let's see. Oh, lost a stitch. We're going to chain 1. Turn your work. We are going to half double crochet into the same space. and we're going to half double crochet in each stitch all the way across. So, and we're going to repeat this all the way until it meets your mid back, so you can button your top together. So like I said, continue placing rows. I believe it took me a total of 17 rows to get to my mid back, or was it 15? But I'll find out with this pattern, and I'll leave the number down below and exactly how many rows it took me to get to my own mid back. So I'll meet you when I'm done with all of my rows. Okay, I completed my additional rows of half double crochet. I did about 20 for myself to reach mid back section. So go ahead and make two sides. Do the same side on the other end. And after you do that, we are going to work on the very bottom of your top. This section is purely up to you, how much coverage you want for your top. You can start this row of half double crochets that we're going to put across the bottom at the very end of your straps to have a full complete coverage of your torso, or if you only just want partial coverage, you can start further in. Myself, I'm going to start right about here, so the coverage will start slightly behind my hip bone. So this is where we're going to attach the yarn. I'm going to pause here real quick and get my yarn. I forgot it. Okay, I got my yarn. I'm ready to work. So turn your top upside down, and we are going to attach the yarn to wherever you would like to start. Like I said, for full coverage, start at the very end of your strap. I'm just doing partial coverage. So attach your yarn. And we're going to evenly place half double crochets all the way across the bottom. Like I said, this isn't an exact science. Just place it as evenly as you can. I like to usually hit every single hole. So, continue placing a row of half double crochets all the way across until where you decide to end. Of course, mine is partial coverage, so I'll stop somewhere around here. And continue doing rows until it's the length that you like. And I'll tell you exactly how many rows that I put into my project after I'm done with it. And I'll put the number right down here. So, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all complete of your rows. Next, we're going to work on placing the strap onto your tank top. To do that first, we're going to have to create a little loop for your strap to fit on. To do that, I looked at my top and I went over 4 shell stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. But you can line yours against yourself and see exactly where you want to place your stitches. Alright, to attach my little loop, I'm going to take my hook and place it into the little, right below the slip stitch of your shell stitch. And this is where I'm going to attach the yarn. When I attach my yarn, I like to leave a nice little tail so I won't have to weave in the work later. And we are just going to chain 4. 1. See, I'm chaining 4 with my 2 pieces of yarn. 2, 3, 4. After you chain 4, you're going to slip stitch to join in the space below the other side of your slip stitch. Doesn't have to be perfect. Uh-oh, I lost some of my loop. There we go. And slip stitch to join. And I like mine a little extra secure, so I'm going to do one more slip stitch into the next stitch. And you can fasten off your work. And now you have your loop attached. Next, we are going to create the strap for your top. So you can pause your video here, and I'm going to get out my extra work for the strap. Next, we're going to create the straps for your top. To do that, I chained a total of 100 stitches. Then I did a single crochet row across all the way across my original chain. And make sure you leave a long enough tail so we can use these to sew later. So you can pause your video here and go ahead and make the strap for your top. Next, we're going to make a little sliding mechanism for your top. so your straps can slide easily up and down on your outfit. To do that, we're going to take a crochet hook that is slightly smaller than your 4mm crochet hook. Right now I am using a 3 3/4 hook, or F, because we want it a little bit smaller so it's a tighter squeeze for your straps to slide through. We're going to begin by making a slip knot. And we are going to chain 5. You can chain tightly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After your chain 5, we are going to slip stitch into the very first chain. After your slip stitch, we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. I know it's a little bit hard to see, but we're going to slip stitch into the third chain inside the loop. See if I can zoom in a little bit so you can see. So not the 2 that you did, but the third chain in the loop. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to slip stitch the join right there. And then after that, you can fasten off your work. I know this is kind of small and very difficult to see, so I'm going to show you a bigger version of what the sliding mechanism looks like. Okay, this is a much bigger version of the sliding mechanism that we made. As you can see, there are 3 loops, 1, 2, and 3 on the back. The one on the back is your chain 2 stitch. So once again, this is what it should look like. This is a much bigger version. I know the smaller one is very difficult to see, but I'm going to show you how to attach your strap using this example piece. So if you'd like to, like I said, place your hook inside your loop where your chain 2 will be on the back. We're going to grab our strap that has the long tail ends. And let's pull those tail ends and a strap through your work. Your chain 2 stitch will be on the bottom of your work, and the original circle of your chain of 5 will be up top. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take your strap, fold it over upon the chain 2 stitch, and sew down your work. Sew the work onto itself. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Here's the end, and we're going to take these tail ends and sew them now. So pause your video here, and I'll meet you after you're done sewing this strap part down. Okay, I placed a temporary stitch on mine because of course I'm not going to be using this white one on my green top. But once your work is sewed down, we're going to have your little sliding mechanism facing the bottom. And we're going to insert your strap into that pre-made loop that we made on the wrong side of your work. And make sure your strap is not twisted. And pull your strap through that little loop, just like so. Okay, let me untwist my work. Smooth out your work and take the reverse end, and you see your 2 little loops right here? We're going to slide this through both of these loops. Like so. And this is what creates the sliding mechanism. And voila, it's connected. So now all you have to do now, let me see if I can zoom back out and see if I can get you a better view of the work. I'm going to pause it so the camera's not shaky. Okay, now I got the better view for you. We're going to take the remainder end, not the remainder end, the end that's not sewn down, and we are going to sew it on to the bottom part of your top. This is the back where you'll have your closure. And there you have your adjustable strap. I'll show you what it looks like on the other side. See, I have my strap sewed down, and my adjustable strap is right here. Okay, now all you have to do is add a button on the back or whatever type of closure that you would prefer, and I'll show you what it looks like all done. For a little extra added support, I chained a total of 200 chain stitches and I connected to a needle. What I'm going to do, I'm going to weave this underneath the bust area where the top of your tank top, the bralette section, meets the bottom part, the part that goes around your torso. Let's see if you can, it's kind of hard to see. Can you see this part is where your strap is, and this is the part that goes on your torso. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to weave it in and out all the way across my work. And this little strap is going to give me that extra support underneath my bust, so I can keep the ladies looking high. So complete this and then your top will be all done. Great job. If you like this tutorial, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with everybody you know. Also, check out my other crochet halter tops and videos. Okay guys, I'll see you all on the very next tutorial.